Of all the things the Angels struggled with in 2023, one of them was focus. So, how does that change? Well, there's one AL West rival manager that has a solution, and we're going to talk about it. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you want to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Angel content, here's how. You can leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. We love 5 stars. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, then hit that subscription button to become a Locked On everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's the best way to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And we appreciate your insights and your questions and your thoughts. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
Thank you for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, aka the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, the Angels offseason is a rockin' and a rollin', and there's lots to talk about each day of the week. So every Monday through Friday, you can count on us for all your Angels conversation. We love having you here. It's our second season here at Locked On Angels. It's a pleasure, privilege to be talking Angels baseball with you. On today's show, we're going to get into a conversation about Michael Stefanic and what his role could be in 2024 and which Angels are playing in the Arizona Fall League. There's some intriguing names there, Mike, and it'll be interesting to see how they perform in the AFL. But first, let's talk about how the Angels can improve their focus on the field.
Yeah, Phil Nevin said that was one of the biggest struggles from this season, and we noticed it when Rengifo was pulled from the game, and we noticed it when Phil Nevin was yelling in the dugout. Those two moves felt like they were for show, and I don't want to judge motives there, but they did kind of feel like they were for show.
I feel like the Rengifo one definitely was justified and worked.
Absolutely.
And it was like, all right, dude, like you can't go trotting after the ball at shortstop.
Yeah. That was the epitome of an example of them not being focused, right?
Yeah.
And just not really giving full effort. And
but
so
the screaming was like too little, too late.
It
Phil.
was
Come
way
on.
too little, too late. Now, so how do the Angels fix this is the big question. John, I heard a great interview earlier this season with Texas Rangers manager Bruce Bochy.
Wow.
And he talked about maniacal focus, like crazy, ridiculous, outrageous kind of focus. And it's what he brought to the Texas Rangers, and it's why they find themselves in the ALCS. Here's what he said. He said that focus is something that you can develop, a skill that you can develop, and here's how you master it in a few steps. Number one, you stay in the moment by decluttering your mind, the mind that can obviously get focused on a lot of other things, and maybe that's what happened with Rengifo, right?
Okay. I'm gonna do these as you read them off.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Stay in the moment.
Stay in the moment by decluttering your mind of the outcomes that can derail you.
Got it.
So
there.
For podcast purposes, if you stumble over words, John, if
I delete the whole file,
if you hit the wrong video because you've never hit in the wrong video before. So declutter your mind of outcomes that can derail you.
Got
it. This is perfect for Patrick Sandoval already, right? This is so perfect. All right.
Right.
Here's number 2. Let go of the past and the future. Concentrate on what needs to be done right now.
Got it.
You see that with a lot of players. I know that we call him Altuve, but Altuve has really shown to be focused in big moments, right? We've seen other players do that as well. Bryce Harper has seemed to be focused in big moments and not worrying about the past and not even considering the future. Number 3, make the fundamentals second nature. In other words, be so good at what you do that it frees your mental space to be agile and adaptive.
Man, we talk about fundamentals all the time.
Absolutely.
I'm going to keep bringing up that conversation with our nephew Tyler about the Angels forgot how to play boring fundamental baseball.
Yeah.
And it's so true. And we saw a lot of that this season, just a lack of situational awareness and fundamentals at the end of the day.
This one I think is maybe the most important one because you're so good at clearing your mind that this just becomes second nature. And it's easy to overthink that ground ball. It's easy to overthink, where am I throwing this? It's easy to overthink those things, especially with a very young team, right?
That's the difference that I think I see between a Perry Manassian draft pick and a Billy Epler draft pick.
That's a great point.
Let me read this again. Make the fundamentals second nature. Be so good at what you do, you free up mental space to be agile and adaptive.
Yeah.
Mike, if that doesn't describe Zach Neto's defense versus like Joe Adell's defense over the 3 years that we've seen Joe Adell. Now, granted, I think Joe Adell has much improved in the outfield. I mean, he played all three positions very well this season. But you and I had said all along that the guy needs a full season in the minor leagues to get the cobwebs out, to clear that mind, and just, again, make fundamentals second nature. I think you see second nature fundamentals with guys like Zach Neto, maybe even Nolan Schanuel. We'll see more of him over at first base. Just that, to me, is it highlights the difference between an Epler draft pick and a Perry Manassian draft pick.
That's a great point, because that really is the gap between those two types of players, and we've experienced it on the field. It almost becomes laughable when you see Joe Adell have a home run bounce off of him, and then you see Jordan Adams have a home run bounce off of him, right?
Yeah.
It's laughable. And then
thanks, Billy.
On the flip side, you see somebody like Zach Neto throwing to third, not once, but twice in pivotal situations. He's just, it becomes so natural because you've cleared your mind, and this is just second nature. I'm going to throw this ball over here, and it's just going to be a part of what I do. And I think that that's what the Angels have been lacking. Number 4, Johnny, is really interesting, and I think it connects to Carlos Estevez and what he did or didn't do in between his outings as a closer. Number 4 is put yourself in high-pressure situations where it's harder to focus. Then practice being in the moment, and this will eventually expand your capacity to focus when it counts most. Remember, Estevez said that he wouldn't throw during his outings, that he would do some dry throws so that he could, quote unquote, save his bullets. But truthfully, that was one mistake amongst, I think, many, because he needs to be in those high pressure situations. Perhaps he needs to be on the mound and have somebody like a Zach Neto at second base and somebody at first base and ready to steal, right? And have a situation where he's pitching, to know how he's going to be in those situations.
Yeah, in the real moment. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so these are 4 skills that, according to Bruce Bochy, you can develop if you practice them. So let me just really quick go over them again. Stay in the moment, declutter your mind of any outcomes that can derail you. Let go of past and future, concentrate on what needs to be done right now. Make fundamentals second nature. Be so good at what you do to free up that mental space that you become agile and adaptive. And then put yourself in high pressure situations where it's harder to focus, and then practice being in those moments, and it'll eventually expand your capacity to focus when it counts the most. Johnny, does this get solved with a new manager for the Angels? Does focus get solved, or is this going to be something that they got to do outside of hiring a brand new manager?
If there's a manager who can come in with his own Bochy-like philosophy that is similar to this, or even borrow from this, I think it's great. And Mike, again, this is all very conceptual. You're not going to get this by going out there and practicing on the field. Maybe that number 4, putting yourself in high pressure situations, you can practice, but all of this is very conceptual. It's all very ethereal. It's not like I can go out and do this 100 times a day and then my mind will be decluttered, right? Like it's all very airy at the end of the day. It's all very mental at the end of the day. So I think if there is a manager who can do, not only bring his version of this to the game and to the Angels, I'm also interested in how these Angels prep, Mike. I'm also interested in how they get ready for games, because I know I've said it before. I'll say it again. Phil Nevin, all we ever heard was these guys come out, they're ready to go every single day. They do all their work. They put their work in. But what does the work look like?
Right, because they didn't have batting practice often, right? They weren't on the field hitting balls, and so what work were they doing? Because we have no evidence of that, right?
Yeah, and I just get to thinking about the difference between a good team and a great team is that you have the fundamentals down and you put yourself in situations where you can practice them, even down to batting practice, even down to drills and outfield drills and things like that. I'm curious to see how the Angels prep versus other teams. And I wonder what a new manager can bring to the table in terms of how the Angels do get ready for games.
Yeah, I think as we think about a new manager and what we would want as fans, make a list, and on the top of the list, put clear preparation, because that isn't something that we were aware of this season. And I know as fans, sometimes we don't get to be aware of everything,
right?
But I want to know what the clear prep is. And I would love for Sam Blum and Jeff Fletcher and Sarah Valenzuela and those people to be able to report on, here's what the Angels are doing. And I think I need a manager. I would love to have a manager that would bring clarity there. Like, hey, here's what we're doing today. Here's what we're doing tomorrow. Here's what we're doing on Wednesday, right? And we're going to have batting practice, and we're going to do these things. We're going to go out. Benji Gill's going to have them go and take ground balls. I would love that communication to the media.
Even if we didn't get that communication, I think the instances of, hey, you know what? Neto had 2 errors in this game or something like that. And so just a communication of, this is how we're following up with that, because you saw after the lack of focus stuff on the field that Benji Gill was out there talking to the players and working on infield drills and things like that were encouraging. And it was like, okay, good. At least they're aware of what's going on and how they can try to fix it. But again, it really comes down to how they prep each and every day.
I just don't want it to be reactionary. That's the thing that I would rather see happen. I would rather see it be like, we're doing this every day. I wouldn't want them to go, hey, we're taking ground balls because they made 4 errors. I would want them going, I'm surprised they made 4 errors because we've been taking ground balls since spring training.
This year was reactionary, right?
Yes, very much so. Very much. Very Angels, right? To react.
Got to play catch up like they've been doing the last 20 years. Analytics. Yeah. What are analytics? We got to catch up on that.
I had an aunt named Ann once.
Can I copy your homework? That's what the Angels need to do. Hey, coming up on Locked On Angels, the Halos have some players in the Arizona Fall League. And if you're unaware, it's a specific league that you want to pay attention to because there's a lot of young guys trying to get in some extra reps and practice over the offseason. We'll talk about all of that coming right up.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. It's October baseball, and we're almost to the World Series, and you can get on all the action this October with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you join today, you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. I like that. Odd. That's fantastic. Right? Put $5 down and you get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Fantastic. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon, create a new account. Then you can get in on all the action from the first pitch until the final out. Bet on everything from strikeouts to home runs to who will win the game. And if you're like me, you don't want to watch the whole game because it's not your team, then you can predict what will happen in the next at bat with quick bets. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon right now, and you can step up to the plate this postseason with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Locked On Everydayers, don't forget that every Friday is Fan Mail Friday. We'd love to get your questions in for Fan Mail Friday. So if you want to do that, you can reach out to us at Locked On Angels on Twitter, at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. If you're on YouTube and you're watching on the video side, comment below. Let us know your question is for Fan Mail Friday. And if you want to get in our voicemail line, you can do so 714-409-6396. That number is in the episode description. We love to hear from you, so get in our mailbag for Fan Mail Friday.
There's a lot of young players that the Angels are really high on, like Zach Neto and Nolan Shonowell and players like that, Logan O'Hoppe. But there are also some players that you may not be aware of, but maybe have heard their name in the air. They've been mentioned at certain times, right? Those players are in the Arizona Fall League where they can do some extra development. And so here are some of the players that the Angels sent there. First baseman, Sonny DeShera. Second baseman, Adrian Placencia. Outfielder, Yadiel Sanchez. Right-handed pitcher, Chase Chaney. Right-handed pitcher Davis Daniel, right-handed pitcher Luke Murphy, left-handed Nick Jones, and left-handed Eric Torres. So who are these players, Johnny? Tell us about Davis Daniel.
Yeah, we're familiar with Davis Daniel. We got a little bit of a look at him in the majors. Mike, did you say he reminded you of Griffin Canning while he was
A
out
little
there?
bit,
Like
yeah, a
Griffin
little bit.
Canning-esque. Is that just because they look alike, or is it because they
I just
actually
think that
pitch alike?
he has a similarity to him
Yeah,
in pitching, but also the
I see it too.
outcomes, the
Yeah.
outcomes that he brought, it was, a couple of hits, couple of runs, but suddenly you look up and it's been 5 innings, it's been 6 innings, and he's still under 100 pitches. And so that's what the Angels haven't had since Jared Weaver, right? And
Right.
so it's nice to have somebody that is filling in that role, which is why I'm a huge fan of Davis Daniel.
Yeah, Davis Daniel, Luke Murphy, Nick Jones, and Eric Torres, upper-level arms, either in or working their way up into the depth chart for 2024. Torres and Murphy were recognized as like pretty prominent relievers. In fact, I remember us talking about Eric Torres possibly being part of the bullpen for 2023 because he had closed and saved so many games for the Trash Pandas. Problem is Luke Murphy and Torres kind of took steps back this season in their 2023 campaigns. Sonny DeShara missed the first month and a half of Double-A this year with a shoulder injury. He struggled to make contact consistently in the second year of his career, but he did stay patient, hunted fastballs. He got an 87 weighted runs created plus, so that's kind of like OPS plus, but the Fangraphs version. So he was about 13% less than league average, and managed to get that 87 weighted runs created plus despite a 34.5 K percentage. But they do say that he has high praise for his leadership. Sonny D, man, he's a big old dude over there at first base, and so maybe he could be a power guy in the future if he can get that K rate down and really stay focused on the fastball.
Sonny D probably has a cool mom too. Yadiel Sanchez has plenty of tools. Really fun. Sorry.
Wow.
Really? That's an old school reference.
Yeah.
Yadiel Sanchez is somebody we've heard about. He's got plenty of tools to really dream about the type of player he could become. He had some solid bat to ball skills that we've seen, and he continued to show some raw power this season. There is some concern with his exaggerated bat wrap, which is limiting his offensive ceiling and moving up to the upper levels. He did post in the Cal League All-Stars League, he did post a 129 weighted runs created plus. So that's positive. That's good.
Yadiel Sanchez is somebody we don't talk about enough who was part of the Noah Syndergaard trade. He and Mickey Moniak came over, and
that's right.
And people were actually like, "Oh, that's pretty good for a single A guy."
Yeah,
that's a good prize right there. So if Yadiel Sanchez turns into something, that to me is a Perry win in addition to
I'll take it.
Mickey Moniak, right? Adrian Placencia didn't turn 20 until June 2nd, Mike,
Young
and
dude.
he saw the bulk of the year in high A. He did better once he got out of cold weather, which is funny. He actually had an 842 OPS in May through June. He did struggle afterward, but he did post a 96 weighted runs created plus. Got to 20 games in Double-A to end the season. He's a smaller dude. He's very disciplined, switch hitter at second base. Actually, the Trash Pandas just posted a video of him and Sonny D in the Arizona Fall League taking batting practice. And Placencia is like, why am I in this group of guys who can hit 400, 500 feet? Like, I'm struggling to get it out of the infield. And so it was a fun video to see.
Nice.
But yeah, he's somebody that I think is also kind of under the radar. Somebody that if you're interested in Angels prospects, pay attention to Adrian Placencia.
Nick Jones is a name that maybe many people haven't heard of, but he's a big, tall lefty that has held lefties to a really good slash line, 194 batting average, a 296 on base, and a 259 slugging over his pro career. He did miss plenty of bats this season with a lot of swings and misses. There's a lot of conversation about him perhaps being invited to spring training. He has good angles on his low fastball and which is about 90 to 93 miles an hour. And then he's got a low slider, which is around 80 miles an hour. And when they say good angles, it hits the strike zone in a way that can cause a lot of swings and misses.
Love that, man. As somebody who can hold lefties to that slash line.
Yeah.
I'll send the invite to spring training myself, Mike. All right. Chase Chaney is kind of interesting. He's a high schooler. He was drafted in the 16th round of the 2018 draft. And he's been a Rule 5 guy for a few years. He's bounced around a lot of single A affiliates the last couple of seasons. Low to mid 90s cutterish fastball, something that he plays off the slider with. So Chase Chaney, another interesting Angel prospect in the Arizona Fall League. Any of these guys stand out to you? And do any of these guys get on the roster in 2024? What do you think?
I think on the roster, you're going to see probably more pitchers than you would hitters on this roster. I think Davis Daniel is probably the guy that everybody's really interested in. I want to come back to Eric Torres, John, because he's a bullpen arm that I think could really benefit the Angels in 2024. I think that he'll have some mistake innings and some maybe bad moments similar to what we saw with a Ben Joyce last season. But can you imagine adding another really strong back of the end arm that we don't have to pay for that could come in and maybe solidify this bullpen?
Yeah.
I get that there could be some mistakes, but remember, we're walking into 2024 with no expectation. So if Eric Torres comes in and ends up being a guy that really grows and progresses in 2024 in light of and despite of some of the mistakes, gosh, I would love to see him pitch for us. And again, let me go back to Davis Daniel for a moment. I could see him being somebody as a long reliever now that we don't have Jaime Barria anymore. I could also see him being somebody that maybe sneaks into that sixth starter spot if they need a spot starter. And he showed that he was really great in the bullpen when he needed to step up. So those two names stand out to me. What about you?
Adrian Placencia stands out to me because I'm interested in that middle infield, the middle infield in general, and the fact that, you know, they had not been active in the international free agent market for a very long time. Obviously, with Dipoto, they lost out on some money for being penalized for Roberto Baldacchini, and then they didn't really spend a lot of time on the international free agency market. So I am interested to see what happens with Placencia and where he can go. I don't think that he'll be on the roster next year, but he is somebody I'm looking forward to watching. Give me the next Eric Ibar, man, because I really want to see somebody like that come up for the Halos.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. You can see where your seats are before you even get there, which is so helpful for a lot of us. You know exactly what to expect when you arrive. They have all-in pricing, which shows your total right up front, so there's no secret hidden fees.
That's the best, man.
That is the best.
That's why I love
this. Yeah, both of you are excited about the Game Time app, right? And then it's buying tickets really easy. 2 taps and you're set. Game Time is obsessed with finding ways to save you money on tickets. They have deals right up until the start of the event, and even after an hour after the event starts, you can still find some last minute seats. There's exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for just about anything and everything. And with zone deals, you can pick the section and Game Time picks the seats for an average savings of 18%. And then they have the Game Time guarantee, which is one of the best guarantees out there. Their guarantee you're going to get the best price out of all of the ticketing apps. And if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time's going to credit you 110% of the difference. So how about that? Take all the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the Game Time app right now. Create an account. Use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, there are some terms that do apply. Create an account. Use our redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets. Lowest prices guaranteed.
Mike, it's time to talk about another Mike, Michael Stefanic. Michael Stefanic actually came up at the end of, not the end, but he came up in the middle of the summer and then came up at the end of the season and showed us something with his second appearance in the majors. He did come up in 22, and he struggled a little bit. He just hit 197, 509 OPS, and 69 plate appearances. This season, he ended up hitting 290 with a 735 OPS, and it was kind of funny because he was the big hero of the Yankee series. He's hit that walk-off hit, and Gwen Stefani was in the crowd that night, and Michael Stefanic, I almost said Gwen Stefanic, Michael Stefani? I don't know what to say.
Just trying to save time.
Just trying to save time. It was pretty cool to see him have that moment. I did see somebody say, man, Michael Stefanic ruined our season by walking off that game and then convincing Arte Moreno to go all in at the trade deadline. I thought that was pretty funny.
It's Michael's fault. Stefanic actually, he had a good finish of the year, as you mentioned. He said last year was kind of his acclimation period, like he's trying to get used to things. And this year, he said he felt a whole lot more comfortable, and you could see it in his play on the field. He also was interviewed and talked about his approach. And he said, just knowing myself and being able to bring a consistent approach day in and day out and sticking with it, not focusing too hard on the results. Obviously, it's a long season, and I feel like I've shown consistently in the minor leagues that my approach does work. Now just bringing that to the major leagues is really, really important. The piece, Johnny, that there was a question about when it came to Stefanic was not his offense, but his defense.
Yeah.
And he impressed his manager and coaches. Phil Nevin spoke about that when he said that I don't think I would have put him in at third base last year like he did this year. He's worked on his arm strength, his arm stroke. His hands have gotten a whole lot better. His feet have gotten a little bit better. There's still room, obviously, to get better, according to Phil Nevin. Remember him? But he said he liked what he saw this season. And Stefanic has put in some extra work on improving his defense last winter, and he said he's going to continue to do it this winter. His quote was, the beginning of my career, the first couple of times up, the defense is really where I struggled, and it was preached to me, work on this, and you'll be here more often. So he's put in a lot of time and a lot of effort into that, trying to be a solid major league defender. Stefanic is a guy who wasn't drafted. He was a non-drafted free agent, and he is 27 years old. So now's the time for him to not be in the minors anymore. Now's the time for him to make an impact in the major leagues. And I don't think he's going to be a starter for us, but Johnny, could he potentially be a key backup and maybe rotation piece in the infield?
I think that we've seen enough of him, especially with the improved defense, that he at least deserves a chance to play off the bench. And you need that versatility in the infield. You need that depth, Mike. So even if he is in AAA or if he's a bench piece, that's the kind of depth that you want. Somebody who can play, the left side or up the middle in the infield. The fact that he put in the work and got better at defense, I think speaks highly of him. And I'm like, hey, do we actually have some player development, some good coaching in the minor leagues, which I think we all know that we do. So maybe give those guys the promotion and bring in those guys for the coaching staff, right? Because they're certainly outclassing whatever the heck's going on in the majors. But with Stefanic, I mean, you saw him make that great stab over at third base, picking that one right out of the air.
Right.
And the fact is, the fact that he put in the work to get better, it says a lot about him. And so I think he deserves a chance. Mike, the Angels have certainly given lesser players a chance to be a bench piece in the past. And so I think Stefanic is like, you know what? He's not an everyday guy, but I think that's somebody that you can count on to, make contact and play the defense wherever you need him when you need to give somebody else a day off their feet. So in my mind, I think Michael Stefanic is a great off the bench piece. What are your thoughts?
I think he's got to work on his defense, not just at one particular position. I think that what will win for him in 2024, especially in spring training, is that he can prove he can play third, short, and second base. And I think that is going to benefit this team more than any other reason. Johnny, think about this. If Rendon can't be on the field, when Rendon can't be on the field, having Stefanic at third base with his bat could be pretty good for the Angels because he's a contact guy.
Yeah.
He bat 290 last season, had over 700 OPS. If he gets consistent at bats, I think he's a 300 guy. I think he can bat 300. And you put him at 8, maybe 9 in the lineup. But having somebody like that where he's not going to strike out a lot, he's going to move runners over,
right?
That could be a benefit to this team. And let's just say that Rendon is healthy and is at third base and is playing well. That's the hope. Then having him fill in at second base, say Rengifo is your starter, and having Stefanic there, having him give Neto a few days off at shortstop, that would be great. Maybe he even tries to play first base a bit and is a backup to Shawnuel. I think that Stefanic could really win the day and win over management and the front office if he proves that he can be a solid piece at all of these positions. I know that a lot of people, and you and I have been in that category of clamoring for, hey, it'd be great if we re-signed Mike Moustakas because Moustakas is able to play a lot of different positions. But what if Stefanic could be somebody that could play that role and be productive, and he's 27 and we're going to save some money, right? Like what if he that guy, gosh, that could be a win-win for both Stefanic and for the Angels. So I think this guy needs to work on his defense a bit and work on his defense at different positions. And if he does that and he's consistent, I wouldn't say like extremely good, but solid, I think he wins a bench role in 2024 with the Angels.
Yeah, and it can't be a situation where you're thinking, oh, Stefanic's got to play every single day. I think he's great at what he's been and how he came up to the majors and performed. I think if he remains at that level, I mean, look, there's going to be injuries, there's going to be problems, there's going to be something. And so you are going to see him more often than just a bench role. But you can't come into 2024 thinking this guy is going to be in there every single day. And it's funny, it seems like last year we were kind of playing a lot of puzzle piecing around, like, where's this guy going to play if we need this guy? And what about Walsh and Urshela? Like, what do we do there? I think the roles are very clearly defined this year. And again, if Stefanic is that guy off the bench who can move runners over in key situations, I think that adds a lot to his value coming into 2024. And it's going to add a lot to the fact that if he can move runners over or even drive some guys in, it really solves the runners in scoring position problem. It really makes a difference there as well. So I think having Michael Stefanic as a bench piece in 2024, I would really like to see that.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Remember, everydayers, we're here Monday through Friday with all of your Halo content, and then we'll move to 3 days a week late December, and then we're back to 5 days a week as things start to amp up in February. So up until December, we're here every single day for you with all of your Halo content, and we appreciate you talking with us, reaching out to us. Johnny, let them know how they can get in contact with us on social media.
Yeah, get at us at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Again, if you're watching or listening, come on over to the videos on YouTube and comment below the video. That's the best way you can reach us and get in our comments. Mike, what do we have on deck for tomorrow's show?
John, we're going to cover a lot of different just questions that we have. And one of those questions is Kim Ng. She was let go. Well, she resigned, sort of, kind of, with the Marlins. And then there's been some rumors that the Angels have been interested. And I know that with Alex Taman not there, like, I don't think she would take the assistant position.
No.
But what would she do? Would she consider coming to the Angels? I know some people already said, nah, never in a million years, right? But I think she could be a solid piece for this front office. Let's talk more about that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
Looking forward to that conversation, and we hope you'll come back and join us for that. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
Your focus in this episode, John, was maniacal. It was
impeccable.
It was so good. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.